Debbyites, I'm here with Marcus James Dixon, Riley Chow, and Amanda Spears, and we're here to talk about none other than the Emmys, which were announced literally hours ago, and we've got a lot to talk about. I'm going to Marcus first, and I want to know, what was the number one reaction that you had? What was the one thing that really stuck with you the moment after the nominations were announced?
Jim Carter was snubbed? Are you effing
Oh,
kidding me? How did that happen? This is the final year of Downton Abbey. He's been in every single year for the past 4 years? I could be wrong. But
And the
how did that
miniseries
happen?
year.
That was it, right? The miniseries year was snubbed.
yeah.
No, he was in that year too.
Wow. And similarly, Adam Driver. I mean, this guy gets in every year, and now that he's actually famous, he has Saturday Night Live, he has Star Wars. He doesn't get in either. So we think that we know the Emmys, that they have, people that they always predict, like these two. And then when it comes time that they have a reason to predict them, be it like the final season or be it the person is really famous, they don't predict them. I just can't figure out I never will. There's no
No.
reason to try.
Please don't even bother. Riley, what do you think?
Well, I'll say along those lines, Don Cheadle, where'd he go?
Yeah,
That's another one. Yes.
what happened? I know, that's so true.
For the
Amanda,
final-
have you got anything like that? Anything like
Yeah,
that?
I know everyone wants to talk about the CW not being able to get nominated, but Jane, I think my crazy ex-girlfriend got the same amount of nominations as stars combined.
Yeah.
So, yeah, including the one nomination for Jane the Virgins, the CW did better than the Stars Network,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
That's nonsense. Like, it's so annoying. I just what does Stars have to do to get more nominations? They have such a really interesting slate of programming, like Ash versus Evil Dead and The Girlfriend Experience and Outlander and Black Sails and all these other shows, and they only have 4 nominations to show for it. So
Well, when you
They have
think
to
about their
rename themselves Netflix stars, and then they'll get a bunch.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
when you think about the fact that they had a movie with Anthony Hopkins, Ian McKellen, and Emily Watson, multiple Oscar nominees and winner, and they couldn't get the movie in, or any of those 3, is ridiculous.
yeah. They must be feeling pretty crappy. I don't know what more. They have to rename themselves to Starflix or something else, and then maybe they'll get nominated. Yeah,
And
HB.
then on that same note, how much do they hate American Idol that they would nominate America Ninja Warrior for Best Reality Competition? And so,
Yeah.
when I started hearing I thought, okay, they're going to put American Idol in.
Yeah, and then you see
At least-
Ninja and
Ryan Seacrest got in, which was just out of nowhere that he gets in.
I
'cause he's
predicted
been
that.
snubbed. That's great. Yeah, I'm glad. I hope he wins. I mean, Jane Lynch is great, but she has 2. That's enough. Let's
Yeah.
move on to someone
Does
else.
she need a triple threat Emmy behind her just for hosting that? I'm not quite sure. But, I think that if there was a really awesome TV show with Alison Janney and Cloris Leachman and Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and they're like, it's a buddy cop show on the CW, and it looks like it's an Emmy magnet, I will not predict that because the CW is just not on their radar, and that annoys me because Jane the Virgin and Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, yeah, they did get something, and Rachel Bloom has 2 consolation nominations, but yeah, they just will never nominate anything from that network in the main categories, and it is completely bizarre.
Well, at least you and I are validated for all the time we spent talking about the costumes and production design on Outlander,
Right.
which people got a little annoyed by. But
Yeah. That was really beating a dead horse. But look, we were right, and they were nominated. But my major take from the nominations was obviously, well, for me, when I saw Matthew Rhys, I realized, okay, this is actually happening. This is actually happening for the Americans. It's like a miracle. It's the miracle of Christmas and Easter and all the holidays combined. I couldn't believe it. I was like scratching my eyes, like, really, is this happening? And it did. The Americans
And I
got
had
nominated.
it. I had it in my predictions until a week ago. I took it out and put in Orange is the New Black, which got
Oh,
basically snubbed across the board. It got 1 nomination.
Yeah.
How did Riley, do you know how did Uzo not get in?
Yeah.
They love her.
I think it's people don't really like the show, but it's kind of like Alice and Janney. Nobody's watching Mom, but then once they see Alice and Janney on the ballot, they're like, okay, I like her, and then maybe I don't watch all these other shows because viewing it so diverse these days. So I think when they see Uzo Aduba on the ballot, they're like, okay, that's fine, but they're not going to push her in there in the first place. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you think that
also...
Go ahead.
We've seen, like, with these like iconic breakout characters, like with Sue Sylvester, it's kind of the same thing where she was nominated the first 2 years, and yeah, she lost the second time, but then she just kind of fell off for the third season because they kind of had enough of it. Like, how long can that kind of last?
Yeah. Well, they stick with some people for years and years, and then they drop them, and then for some people they drop them after 2. Like, it's really hard to say. What Marcus said at the beginning is really... That's what makes us all go crazy with the Emmys, because who on earth would have thought that Uzo Aduba would not be a nominee, and Christine Baranski, who has been nominated for every single season of The Good Wife. The Good Wife is ending. Like, if anyone had said Christine Baranski is not getting nominated, they would have been laughed at. And here she is. She's nominated for The Big Bang Theory, but she's not nominated for The Good Wife, this iconic role which she has never won before, and we all thought she could win for the end this season, the series finale, and she's not even there. So
I thought she would have fallen off years ago, but she just made it every single time.
Right.
And then normally with the final season, like, a show gets more nominations than they did for the penultimate one.
Right.
I don't know.
So it just doesn't make sense.
It was weird. And Margot Martindale, who they clearly love because they gave her another nomination for The Americans for sitting on a bench this time. I forget, where was she sitting?
It was a bench this time, I think, not a cafe. Yeah.
And they love her so much, but they still wouldn't give her something for The Good Wife, which I really was banking on. But can we talk about Maisie Williams? Nobody saw this coming. Nobody.
I had to check the list twice to make sure I was looking at it correctly. Like, what?
Yeah. Oh, there were years where she wasn't even submitted, and they obviously submitted her because Arya Stark had more of a prominent role, and here she is as a nominee. Very, very exciting. Was everyone just completely over the moon by that? Even if you're not a big fan of the show, surely seeing her on the list is something really good.
Is she the youngest?
You're always championing the children. You want children to be nominated, and you finally got one, Amanda.
Well, I just think that just because you're like under 25 doesn't mean you should be excluded, but it usually seems to be that kind of a thing where it's either they need to give them their own categories or they need to expand their thinking, and at least they showed this time that they did. They expanded this, and I was shocked that she got in. I don't know. Is she the youngest in that category? She might be one of the youngest.
Right.
She's younger than Maggie Smith, so
just a little.
Yeah, no, but in the past they've nominated Chris Colfer and Rachel Brosnahan from the 90s. So Maisie Williams would be the first nominee who is born after me who's nominated.
There you go.
Wow.
Well, that was cool. And speaking of Maisie Williams, all of her co-stars, like normally we've only ever seen Peter Dinklage pretty much every year, Lena Headey and Emilia Clarke comes in and out. Emilia Clarke is back. She had a much more prominent role. Lena Headey, obviously, I think is probably now one of the front runners.
I think she'll
Maisie
win.
Williams is there. Yeah. You got Kit Harington in there finally. He wasn't nominated for The Watchers on the Wall, which was like 2 years ago, which was really bummed me out. He finally made it. Obviously, I'm sure he's going to submit Battle of the Bastards or perhaps maybe one of the earlier episodes. And there's so many more cast members. That's really cool for Game of Thrones as well.
Right. And Max von Sydow got in, and you know what? I bet Ian McShane would have got in, but they didn't submit him on the ballot.
I think that if they knew that they were going to have this big breakthrough with the actors, they probably would have submitted Ian McShane and Bella Ramsey, who played Lyanna Mormont.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Just to try their luck.
I don't know what's going on there because they never submit very many guests. I mean, they submit one pretty much per year in each category, if that. But like House of Cards, that should be an example for everybody that you just submit all your recurring, all your regular people who qualify for guests, because that's what the Emmys love to nominate. Like we saw for years, they nominate people like Uzo Aduba, who is in every episode, and then now the category is becoming people who were in every episode the previous season, and then just happened to not qualify this time.
Yeah. I really thought, I think, Rob, I was talking to you about Natasha Lyonne. I thought she would get in for Orange and Pablo Schreiber, but they just dropped Orange everywhere.
They really dropped it. Let's talk about that for a sec because we were talking about it before, but I was unfortunately convinced about a week and a half ago to take the Americans out and put in Orange is the New Black. There was all these arguments being thrown at me. I won't go down that road. I don't want to point any fingers, but I'm never going to be doing that again. Just trust your own judgment. And my judgment was the Americans is coming back, and I was obviously proven right. But
did you put Kate McKinnon in at the end? Because
yes, I did. I did bloody well put her in at the end, and I've been arguing that she wasn't nominated. So, and I also had Paul Sparks in there and took him out the day before because I thought, oh, you're being silly. I had Mahershala Ali in there a week and a half ago. That ended up happening. So we all have these stories where we've had all these really great predictions and then we take them out and then they end up happening. Very frustrating. But
I had David Schwimmer in, so I was so mad. I pulled him out for Forrest Whitaker thinking somebody from Roots was going to get nominated, and I was wrong.
But with Orange is the New Black, it just made sense. Like, when the arguments were being thrown at me, it was like, okay, it got some SAG love. It is streaming on Netflix now. The season 4 is so acclaimed. I've just finished it, and I just can't get it out of my mind. If I was a voter, I'd be voting for season 3. Just who cares? Season 3 was really weak, but I don't think they care about that. And yet, it got 1 casting nomination. No Uzo, no Natasha Lyonne. I'm shocked.
Yeah, and Riley, you love the tech nominations and stuff like casting. Is this rare that a show gets casting but no cast members? That has to not be normal.
I don't know about that. I've just noticed in the technical categories for the last few years, they've kind of all become like secondary best drama categories. Like, I loved about the Emmys this year is that they really acknowledge the full breadth of television, like that we're living in a peak age. Like, I looked at cinematography and editing and sound, and for the last 3 years, every single nominee has either been like a current series nominee or a past series nominee, like Boardwalk Empire, The Good Wife. Whereas this year, every single one of those categories has somebody new in it. They've got Ray Donovan in sound mixing, they've got Man in the High Castle in cinematography, and Narcos in editing, and then on the comedy side too. But those casting categories, still, 5 years now, the casting category has only been current drama nominees or past drama nominees. So still very boring over there. And then above the line, I thought there was a bit of a disconnect because there they didn't really embrace like tons of stuff like below the line. They kind of just doubled down on their favorites like Game of Thrones and Veep.
Yeah, Veep got what, 3 writing and 2 directing? Is that right?
Well, the other way around. It was something like that, and lots of actors, and just unbelievable. It kind of almost doubled its haul from the previous year, and this is when Armando Iannucci had left. We all maybe suspected that the show would go down in quality, and yet it didn't. To me, it was its strongest season. I think it deserved all of those nominations. I'm very happy for them. They must be completely over the moon.
Yeah,
and
Matt
they really
Walsh.
are paying attention by nominating like someone like Matt Walsh.
Yeah.
Over Hugh Laurie.
Yeah.
Right. And Martin Mull gets his very first Emmy nomination of his career.
Which
Peter
you
McNichol.
called, Marcus?
I did. Peter McNichol's back.
Yes,
First time since Ally McBeal.
Yeah, very cool. So I was very happy to see all of those. Let's talk about more of the comedy stuff. I'll only just say this one more time, that I was very happy about Catastrophe. I feel really vindicated that at least it got something from the best branch of the Academy, the writers who actually watch TV. And and I think that it could have a shot at winning if they watched all the episodes. But if it's a popular ballad in that branch, then who knows what will happen. Anyone else on comedy? What stuck out for comedy?
The love for Aziz Ansari. I was a little worried. I didn't think that show was going to get in, but it got in writing and directing and himself. So I think they've basically picked his episode for him with parents, which is the one I would suggest.
Yeah. Does that indicate that there's some support for that show as a possible spoiler, or are we just wasting our breath and it's just Veep?
It has no tech nominations whatsoever, so it only has above the line nominations, which is, I mean, it's a good thing to have, but you want both. You want to have the major nominations, and you want to have the smaller ones too. Another thing I was going to mention is Modern Family, only 4 nominations. How many did Crazy Ex-Girlfriend have again?
Exactly. So
it's 4. So it tied Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Crazy.
It is crazy. But this does sometimes happen with shows that are at the kind of the end of their run, but not necessarily for a show that has won so many times. That should have been kind of like Frasier, which still had a lot of, it still had something in it, and it was still getting nominations towards the end of its run. And Modern Family just seems to have died off. Is it because it's not cool anymore? I don't know. I don't really know the answer to that at all.
Chris Beecham and I were talking today. When our prediction center opens, we may put Modern Family in our 7th position because it seems like it's over.
Yeah. So
I think it's lucky that there's so many slots. I mean, the same thing with Blackish too. Blackish, it didn't get anything below the line. No writing, no directing. You can't really say that the actors carried it because they didn't nominate Lawrence Fishburne. There's no casting nomination. I think it's very much just there's 7 slots and you have to mark 10 shows, which is kind of the point of having 7 slots, so is that you can have these kind of cool nominations for things that would otherwise slip through.
Yeah, and not to be, I'm trying to be fair to Blackish because it's actually quite a deserving show, but it did have a lot of hype because of all this talk about diversity. So people checked it out thinking that this might be a way to make the Emmys more diverse. They realize it's actually a really deserving show and deserves to be in the conversation anyway. But that certainly helped it. Plus, it had a lot of really interestingly written episodes over the last season. So it gave it some of that kind of gravitas that you might need to break through. So Blackish certainly did very well. I'm never going to forget the reactions from Anthony Anderson when he was announcing the nominations. It was like, all right, Anthony, it's okay. Don't have a heart attack.
And then even Bruce Rosenblum got into that too. Like when he was naming the 7th drama series nomination, he's like, Blackish. No, never mind. It was really funny. Should we talk about winners? I mean, I think it's going to be Veep, Jeffrey Tambor, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Allison Janney, and Tony Hale. I think it's going to be last year's winners again.
Well, I'd say the only thing standing in Julia's way is her old nemesis, Laurie Metcalf, because she does have a winning record against her. I'm just trying to add a little drama to this.
Yeah. I love it. I love Laurie Metcalf.
The only reason when people say, oh, she only won one for Seinfeld, well, you need to look at Laurie Metcalf. That's the reason. So Julia did get nominated, but this is not her ideal scenario.
Wow.
Very interesting. I love that.
I love that. That's
write
an article about that. Please write an article on that.
I will start that.
For all of us who were around and watching the Emmys back in the day, because that's when I became interested in the Emmys, when I was a Roseanne fan and I was watching Laurie Metcalf, and eventually Sarah Gilbert was getting nominated, and Laurie Metcalf just kept winning the Emmy 3 times in a row. Eventually Roseanne won, but I remember, Julia, it was like a running joke that Julia just could not get arrested at the Emmys, and then she eventually won. I remember it so clearly. It was like she was almost going to have a heart attack. And now...
After Laurie Metcalf left.
Correct, exactly. And now they're back in the category together. That's brilliant. I hope they remember that. And maybe Julia, you know what she's like. She loves to do really funny things when she's up on that podium. Maybe something might be said, or she might... I don't know. It'd be really cool if we could do that.
Yeah.
I finally beat Laurie Metcalf.
Tom needs to remind her that this is the woman who stopped her. I'm sure she probably doesn't remember that it was...
I think Julia remembers. I think she likes hearing things like that, so I'll have to mention that to Tom O'Neill before he interviews her in August or whatever.
Yeah, please do. So there's that. Look, Marcus, I think you're right. The only one that's probably has to worry is Tony Hale. I know that it's a popular ballot, though, so that helps him, but there could be a surprise in comedy supporting actor. That's what I'm focusing on the most.
For Louis Anderson, maybe?
Well, why not? Hey, listen, you called it first of all. I jumped on the bandwagon 5 minutes later. You and I have been and I think Ralph, I'm not sure about you, Riley and Amanda, but we've been on the Louis Anderson train, really, from the beginning, so that was very cool to see him there. Why not? I mean, if it was about episodes, I think he would have it.
I think Ty Burrell has it on episode. I mean, I think as nice as it is to see Matt Walsh in there, the season finale where he throws his big fit and is basically telling everyone off kind of proves why he is the guy of that show. So I do see how he maybe could win on an episode, but I think Tony Hale, even on an episode, could probably still take this.
I think we have to watch out for the new system, because in the past, if you have Matt Walsh, Tony Hale, you just rank Tony Hale 1, Matt Walsh 2, or vice versa. Whereas this year, the voters will actually have to choose.
Mm.
So it's possible the Veep vote could get split, and then maybe we'll have Ty Burrell come in or something.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because even though I usually really hate the vote splitting argument because a lot of people don't understand the way certain awards work, you're right, Riley. This time, vote splitting could be a possibility. It could be something that we need to think about. Any category with more than one nominee from the same series, we need to consider that. So that's a good call. If it wasn't going to be the Veep guys and it wasn't going to be Louis Anderson because no one's ever seen Baskets, who would win Comedy Supporting Actor then? Ty Burrell, really? I mean, he's won twice, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Maybe Titus Burke.
I don't know.
Are all of the categories like that now, where you just pick one, you don't rank, even like comedy and drama?
Yeah, so I think that like Lena Headey and Emilia Clarke are going to really struggle there because like Emilia Clarke is playing the more popular character. She was nominated first. People respect Lena Headey more as an actress, but I think there's definitely some split there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maisie Williams just proved herself really popular because she surprised a lot of us by just getting in there. But in a popular vote, I'm probably just going to go with Maggie Smith.
Really?
Oh, you're right.
Gosh,
They
Maggie
want Mom to
Smith.
give Downton Abbey one more award.
Yeah.
Oh, what a waste. Please
As soon as you said it, I'm like, you're right.
don't do it.
I'm not going to do it right away, but about a week before, I'll
We'll go over this over and over again. But look, Lena Headey, she's got the finale, and I just think like hopefully she will be able to coast on that performance that she gave in the finale for a little bit longer, and we all consider her pretty much the front runner. But Maggie Smith, like, please don't waste your Emmy award on her. She's not even going to be there. We love you, Maggie. Dame Maggie, you're great, but come on, enough already.
I think it's totally Maggie Smith. She's got the Downton Abbey vote, because they've, not this year, but in the past several years, they've gotten tons of acting nominations. So she gets all of that vote. And then all the people who are, like, really out of touch voters, who don't even know what, like, A and Real is, like, they'll vote for Maggie Smith. They're not going to check off, somebody from Game of Thrones.
Sure. They're not going to check off Constance Zimmer, I suppose. That was another cool thing, by the way, seeing her in that list. Again, Marcus, you had a pretty good year. You gave it a solid B, but I think this should be an A for you.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I took Constance out at the last second.
You did. But you've been championing her from the beginning, so
I have.
I'm trying to give you some credit where it's due.
Yeah, if she were to win, that'd be great. If Unreal were to win for writing, that would be great. But going up against
win for Lifetime.
Going up against the behemoth, and that's what Game of Thrones is. It's going to be really hard.
Does that mean Kit Harington is in the lead in drama supporting actor? Or
I think so. I think so.
All the buzz has been around him. All the buzz after the show ended. He had a lot of it just because of what we found out about his character. I'm not going to say it. You can look it up online.
Yeah.
So.
Did he die?
If you told no, but if you told me only one actor from Mr. Robot was going to get in, I would have picked Christian Slater because
we forgot about that.
I had to go look again. I'm like, wait a second.
What happened? Why did that happen? I'm so annoyed. Does this hurt Mr. Robot? Would it have won anything anyway for starters? But it does hurt it, doesn't it?
It hurts it, but then again, season 1 of Homeland, Mandy Patinkin was the big name there, and he got snubbed. And it still won, the lead.
Almost everything.
One drama. So, I mean, it hurts Mr. Robot, don't get me wrong, but it's not the worst thing in the world for him to be snubbed.
Does Mr. Robot
have for the newsroom? Like, I find that sometimes we say, like, oh, they must like these veteran actors, but if they don't really do anything like Christian Slater, then I think sometimes they're rightfully snubbed.
Well, no disrespect to your fellow Aussie, but I haven't seen the last 2 episodes of Bloodline, but what did Ben Mendelsohn do
I agree.
that he deserved this nomination? I mean, I don't think smoking in a car counts as...
Nothing. It's just he's menacing. It's just he's doing a typical Ben Mendelsohn performance, and as much as we love him as an actor, but he didn't really do enough, and I think that was a name check. That stole it off Christian Slater. I think Christian Slater did more than Ben Mendelsohn. I really do.
Oh, yeah. Michael Kelly, too. He didn't really deserve it for season 4.
He didn't have a big season 4. He had a great season 3, and they watched that and nominated him. But this time, they probably could have moved in another direction. So, with Mr. Robot, though, does it have the writing or the directing? I'm pretty sure it has a writing from Sam Esmail. I think that Sam Esmail could win that, and I think Rami Malek's going to win. So I'm just going to stay with that until the end. I'm not changing. That's what I'm going to do. Anyone want to be with me?
Didn't you
I'm with
learn
you.
a-
I don't think Kevin Spacey's winning.
Didn't you
don't
start the slugfest by saying you learned a lesson not to make any changes? So
Yeah.
if you stick with the winner, don't change it. Even like a day before Emmys, don't change it.
No matter
Keep
what
it
you
with
all
Sam.
say, if Tom screams at me and I get laughed at, I'm not changing it. Yeah, and yes, I think we have to go with what our heart says, and that's what it's telling me.
I think going back to Bloodline, it's weird that, last year they liked Kyle Chandler, Ben Mendelsohn, they couldn't carry Sissy Spacek, and then this year they couldn't carry Beau Bridges.
Right.
They really like just those two parts of that show.
And that's it.
Well, Sissy Spacek really hasn't been given a lot to do for being.
But does that stop them before? Like, it doesn't
No,
stop them?
it doesn't.
Or
He's
Sam
magnificent.
Shepard last
Probably a
season,
plus.
guest. Yeah.
The least you do, the better. Can I just also throw this in here because I have to. It's like compulsory, mandatory that I say it. But the leftovers being completely snubbed again really pisses me off, and I feel very bad for that whole cast and crew. At least a token nomination for International Assassin would have made me happy. I don't understand it, and I'm not just saying about leftovers. I'm just saying there are some shows where they just have this blind spot, and it's like as if it doesn't exist. It used to be The Americans, and now it's this. I mean, there's not that many shows on TV that are more critically acclaimed than The Leftovers, and they're ignoring it in the face of the critics telling them that this is a show they should be watching.
It didn't get a single nomination, did it?
Not a thing. Not even its new opening credits, which are stunning. I thought at least that, or just International Assassin, because the writers
I was
really know what they're
disappointed
doing.
with the writers branch because I was waiting for them to do what they always do best, and they did it in the comedy, and I went to drama, and I was like, okay, and it was just their standard fare.
Where did they do it with comedy? Master of None?
Catastrophe.
Catastrophe.
Oh, Catastrophe,
That was
okay.
completely out of the blue. Like, yeah, so that's, do you all remember when the writers nominated Hush, Joss Whedon's one of the greatest works of television ever? I still remember the feeling that I had that morning when I was printing it off that printer that used to take like half an hour to print one line, and pulling off the thing and just seeing it and seeing Hush on there, and that's why the writers mean a lot to me, because they do nominate the really good stuff like Battlestar Galactica and other shows of that ilk. And
Community.
yeah,
Yeah,
Community,
that was one of their best nominations.
one of their best. And
the writers. Yeah, sorry.
No, and that's why with Catastrophe it was like, okay, so they're still doing it. They really do pay attention, and I just thought they'd do it for the leftovers, and they didn't.
Yeah, I was kind of let down by them this year. They didn't, like, the Writers Guild nominated The Leftovers, so that kind of got my hopes up. They didn't nominate Horace and Pete either. They nominated, The Night Manager over David Simon and American Crime, so,
Let's talk about American Crime. I mean, Season 2 is one of the best programs of the year. It only got, I think, 4 nominations. 3 of them are acting. I mean, it did get limited series, so obviously they liked it. But no writing, no directing, nothing technical.
Insane.
Such a bummer.
Not even for editing. Like it's where it's strongest is its editing, its cinematography, John Ridley's writing, and it got none of that. And I think I'm going to give credit to Daniel, actually, our fellow Gold Derby team member. It's because OJ sucked the air out of the room, and there was not a lot of room for anything else.
I was surprised that it got limited series, actually, because I thought that it would be kind of decimated the way it was, but it was able to cling to that, so that's something.
That's something.
Yeah, and it's a shame with the supporting characters because they had 2, again, very young performers, and that could have been, and probably in another year would have been nominated with Connor Jessup or Joey Polari. They really gave amazing performances, and ABC, I mean, there's just really nothing you could do to push it past OJ.
No.
And a lot of us were skeptical when they put Lily Taylor in lead, but it worked out. They both got in, her and Felicity and Regina King in support.
And good for her for not taking the easy way out and going into the supporting category.
She was a co-lead. She had more to do than Felicity, really, to be honest. And strike me down if you want, Marcus. This is going to really hurt your feelings. But
what?
I think Lily Taylor could win that, and I'm just going to. I don't care if I sound crazy, because I sounded crazy 3 days ago, and people were like, "No, you're wrong," and then ended up being right. So I think Sarah Paulson. Let's not be too complacent about her. We've been complacent about her in the past, and she has lost to people that we never thought would have beaten her. Okay, maybe we did, but I think Lily Taylor is a slight possibility.
Well, it's like last year. You've got a character actress from American Crime, and you've got Sarah Paulson.
Yeah.
Last year I didn't predict Sarah Paulson, but this year I am.
Yeah.
Who did you predict, Regina, or did you go with someone else?
I actually went with Kathy Bates. Yeah.
Yeah, because she's beaten her before. So
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going to predict Sarah Paulson. That's mental not to do so, but I just think
we
that
should all put Sarah Paulson in third place and talk up other people so we cannot be her curse.
Yeah.
I don't want to curse
We
her
could all
because
take
we
an agreement.
all
love
love her so much. Like, she's one of our favorites, and to see if she wins an Emmy, I'll be very happy. But I'm just not 100% convinced that she's such a lock because we're going to curse her again.
How strange would it be if she loses lead, but she wins supporting for Hotel? No one would see that.
I don't like her character on Hotel.
That's going to happen.
Oh, God.
They do stupid things, and that could happen. So in the drama series category, I think we've covered most of those. But in the limited, is that just going to be an OJ Fest? Probably.
Well, I don't know about that supporting category. We saw a couple years ago with The Normal Heart where they had 4, and
Right.
all of a sudden Martin Freeman snuck in. So maybe this is Hugh Laurie's.
Maybe. The Night Manager did very well, didn't it? More so than it might have deserved.
Yeah.
Hugh Laurie could finally get that Emmy. Sterling K. Brown would be a great result from many of us. I really want to see him win. But yeah. Hugh Laurie, that's a good point.
I think Sterling is winning. I think Courtney is winning. I finally decided on Courtney over Bryan Cranston a couple days ago. Where do you guys fall on that race?
Yes.
Well, I don't think we've seen recently at least 3 examples where past Tony winners have reprised their role and not won. So I'm not going with Bryan Cranston.
I'm not either.
No, it's totally Bryan Cranston. He got an Oscar nomination for Breaking Bad, so he can get another Emmy, I think, in the TV movie category.
You don't think they're going to be a little bit like, we've given you enough Emmys, sit down? That's what I think.
There's no way they don't know he's got multiple.
Yeah, it's going to be close, but I think it's Courtney as well, and I think David Schwimmer could even possibly win. Why not? Why not?
That's why I think that there's not one of those on the OJ that I think is so far and away above better than the others.
Yeah.
And I think what we're forgetting is that John Travolta had a very classic Emmy moment when he accepted for his cast member who passed away from The Boy in the Bubble. So they are familiar with him. So he might have some goodwill coming back to television, where I think we could see a vote split between the 3.
Wow. That's a possibility.
They love movie stars.
They do love movie stars, and I would love to see John Travolta up there collecting the Emmy, maybe from Idina Menzel. That might be interesting. Mispronounce her name again. Who's winning in the supporting actress side? Is that maybe Regina King, just for that one, return American Crime?
I think Jean Smart. I mean, Fargo
of course,
really performed well, except for Patrick Wilson. It really got more than a lot of people thought. And American Crime was so underrepresented.
Yeah.
In the nominations, that I think Jean Smart's going to win.
You forgot. Oh, I'm sorry. I completely forgot about her. Yes, you're right. You are completely right. And maybe even Kirsten Dunst is another possibility in lead actress. So lead actress in a limited series is a really interesting and competitive category. So hopefully Sarah Paulson wins that. But who knows?
Put her in third. We should all just agree to put her in third.
Put her in third, and then she'll win.
Our first place, and then we can
and then
not
she'll
be
win.
the reason.
Thank God. Let's hope so.
I think they did watch Fargo, though. Like, they nominated Jesse Plemons and Bokeem Woodbine over Ted Danson. I thought Ted Danson and Jean Smart, similarly had, a disappointing amount of material. So maybe they don't vote for Jean Smart for this character.
Maybe. I thought Jesse Plemons, obviously, I was very happy about that because I was skeptical he'd be nominated because they usually do go with the bigger names, but he really, really deserved it. I've been such a fan of his since Friday Night Lights, and it was really cool to see him on there too. So wow, these limited series acting categories are insane. Really,
we should have all 4 of the Breaking Bad gentlemen present together.
Yeah, that would be great. So,
too bad Aaron Paul got snubbed. Then we could have really had
I know. Well, I mean, Hulu did very badly. Hulu at Stars and the CW are probably all just commiserating together over a glass of wine. I feel really bad for Aaron Paul. We thought that was a real possibility. He's such an Emmy favorite, and yet they didn't care for the path at all. So
I don't know what happened. I mean, I guess it's just because, you know, HBO and FX really dominated everything. I mean,
Yeah.
between them, I think they had 150 nominations.
Yeah, something
Yeah,
crazy.
Hulu got 2.
Hulu got 2. And like even for that James Franco vehicle, which I thought was pretty good, I thought they'd get something in some of those limited categories. But again, the OJ thing just really just dominated, and there are some categories where it has half the nominations, and yeah, so that's why FX did so well because of OJ and Fargo. I mean, with those two alone, they really did an amazing job in their campaign.
It'll be
As did
interesting
Netflix.
to see if Ryan Murphy wins directing on the limited series movie side, since he didn't pick that up for the normal hard, if they're going to kind of correct what they did last time, or if he's...
Yeah. Or will they go with John Singleton? Or yeah, who knows?
Or Jay Roach has a perfect record in the category.
He does. Yes, he does.
Oh wow!
That's
What
right.
are some like below the line categories you guys are excited for?
Riley, you
I'm
go first. Oh, okay.
No, go.
This is Riley's thing, right? This is what Riley loves the most.
So you guys go. I'll have to think
No,
about
go
this.
ahead, Amanda. Go ahead, Amanda.
I just want to see if Alan Menken's going to win his EGOT, or if the Emmy is a consolation prize for losing an Oscar, which is ridiculous. Like, I guess Netflix should have entered Beast of No Nation for Best Movie,
Yeah.
because they really need to come up with some kind of rule about this.
Look, they do that. By the way, they do that all the time. Like, He Named Me Malala is a nominee. That was an Oscar contender. There's also like What Happened, Miss Simone from Netflix. That was nominated. The Ukraine documentary was nominated. So there's a lot of double up. Why do the Emmys do that? If it's been entered for consideration for the Oscars, it should be out. And yet it happens all. That South African film Yesterday was nominated like 10 years ago for Best Film, and it was entered by South Africa as a foreign film. So it happens constantly, and it bugs the shit out of me. I don't know why they do that.
Yeah, but that's
But
Rachel Lee's only chance of winning an Emmy, and now she might lose because they're going to give this away as a consolation prize.
There are 2 movies that Netflix didn't submit for the Emmys or the Oscars. The 2 Adam Sandler ones. What's going on there?
Yeah, what is going on there? That would have been a steamroller.
I'm really excited for the reality host race. We already mentioned Ryan Seacrest, but we have RuPaul in there, and we have Steve Harvey.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Little Big Shots, but he seems to be really, really popular right now. I may pick him over Jane Lynch.
Oh God, can we please get him to win, and then they can like take the award off him and just say there's been a mistake? That would be the great, and it should be the Miss Universe winner, whoever she is, should be there.
She announces the category.
Oh God, it's pop culture gold. Gold.
That show, Little Big Shots, has big ratings too.
I've never even heard of it, which really I'm so
Network is that show
surprised.
on?
Yeah.
It's on Fox,
you know,
right?
I thought I knew my TV, but I had never heard of that one. And you know, the other day I was flicking on my cable and I saw American Ninja Warrior. I thought, oh, this is cool. And I was watching it for like 10 minutes, and I thought, okay, I'll flick away now. And then it got nominated. So at least I had heard of it. Thank God. Otherwise, I would never.
Isn't it like Wipeout? Like it's kind of a
Yeah.
joke.
Yeah.
How does Survivor not get in there? I just don't understand.
Because it's trash. No. And
That is
Rob?
insulting.
Oh, that hurt. I know that hurt. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't get it.
Shots is on NBC. The second episode got 15 million viewers.
Oh my God, I'm going to check it out. I'm going to check that out because I like my Steve Harvey. I do like a bit of Steve Harvey.
I'm gonna predict him because it's a popular vote. I guess more people have seen that than have seen Hollywood Game Night.
Yeah.
And it's produced by Ellen DeGeneres and created by her as well.
Cool. All right. Well, that's interesting. We're going to have to check that out. And what about in the variety talk category? I know the other editors have already gone over this, but to see Jerry Seinfeld's car crackle show in there instead of Samantha Bee kind of annoyed me. Nothing against Jerry Seinfeld, and I don't mind comedians in cars getting coffee. It's okay. But Samantha Bee was for me the best thing, probably apart from John Oliver, in that space, and I was very disappointed in that.
I don't know what else to say. I in another Slugfest I said I was heartbroken. It's just I thought it was happening.
Yeah, they're sexist. A woman. I can't even. I think I looked it up. It's been like since '96 or something. Since Tracy Ullman won before the category split.
Right.
But it's such a boys' club.
But
Yeah, Marcus, you posted that thread in the forum like would she be the first woman? And I said, well, she is a woman, so she's not getting nominated.
You called it.
Well, that's right. I mean, if the categories weren't split, Amy Schumer would probably be in there, right? So I don't know. I don't know if it's necessarily just because she's a woman. I think it could be slightly coincidental. Shoot me down if you want to, but maybe because it's on TBS. And maybe like Conan, does he ever get nominated anymore? Probably not.
He got
So
that
maybe
first one for
he
TBS.
did for the
Yeah, in
first, but that's
general, they
because
don't. Yeah.
there was all that hype when he moved
Yeah.
across.
Maybe if Full Frontal was on HBO.
Yeah, I think that she would have been nominated. I think that's the real reason. Plus, it's a first-year show. Trevor Noah wasn't there. He wasn't able to coast on the coattails of all the previous nominations that show had. So maybe they just, I don't know, James Corden's there, he's new. So it's hard to really make arguments, but I just think it's not just because she's a woman. But I think
wonder
that's a big part of it.
Comedy Central is probably kicking themselves because they could have submitted Jon Stewart's Daily Show. It aired June, July, and August last year. But they chose not to give Trevor a chance.
Yeah.
They're probably like, crap, we should have just done
it. I know. It's a shame. All right. Well, any final thoughts? We've got so much more to talk about over the next few months, and we will obviously be doing more of these. But we just wanted to go with those initial reactions. I'm just going to go to each of you and tell me one more thing, and then we'll finish up. Who wants to go first? Crickets.
My favorite shows of the year were Game of Thrones, which got in, People vs. OJ got in, American Crime got in just a little bit. Last Man on Earth, only lead actor, and Riley, you called this. You said it was probably going to go down, and I'm just really, really bummed about that because it's such a original, exciting, fun comedy. I'm bummed it didn't get in, but all my other shows got in, so yay.
Yeah. I'm surprised he got in actually, because like all the nominations that were attached to the show last year were for the pilot. I thought if they had watched more, maybe they'd nominate Kristen Schaal or something.
Yeah.
So, what's your final thought, Riley? Have you got anything that you want to say?
Yeah, I was glad to see Thomas Middleditch get in there, and growth for Silicon Valley, which I thought would happen, but then I actually watched it and I was more skeptical.
Me too. Amanda?
Yeah, I was very happy with Silicon Valley getting Thomas Middleditch in. I'd say, and I want Amy Poehler to win an Emmy.
Yes.
I'm afraid that this is going to set a dangerous precedence if they do give the Tina-Amy combo Best Guest Actress.
It might, but maybe it's a good precedent. Who knows? I'm just really. My final thought is I was underwhelmed by the shows that I love that missed out, like Outlander and The Leftovers and so forth. But I was really happy to see a lot of new blood and surprises, and a lot of the old nominees that are there were perennial favorites, if you want to put it that way, were kind of cast aside to make room for others, and Kit Harington and Rami Malek and people like that. That's going to make Emmy night really, really exciting, and that's what we want to see most of all. So anyway, everyone, thank you for your time, and we'll be back no doubt over the next few weeks to talk more about Emmys ad nauseum until we all pretty much pass out. See you later.